evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We have an interesting evening tonight. We're going to talk about organized crime, how it affected people. And with this show, the name of the show is Law and Disorder. So we're going to talk about some of the disorder. But first, I want to talk about a few things. This Monday coming up on the 11th, there'll be a sort of a parade and celebration on Arthur Avenue and 183rd Street. It's called the Arthur Avenue Park. And there's going to be all kinds of stuff there, food, music. It's going to be nice. It's not a feast, but it's just like a parade. Also, we live in a messed up world. There's no two ways about it. Everything is upside down. One of the things that bothered me, and it's this sort of a result, this Lieutenant Colonel Sheller in Afghanistan went berserk when he saw what they were doing. He said they were incompetent, this, that, and nobody wants to take responsibility. Well, he resigned and they arrested him. They actually put him in the brig, and he just came out today. Now, the good part of it is they're going to have a court martial, and I don't believe he's going to lose. I'll tell you why. They don't want to have a public trial because all he has to do is subpoena all the generals and Austin, the Secretary of Defense, and highlight their incompetence. And I got a feeling they're going to make some sort of deal with him. But the good news is people got so pissed off, so aggravated about it, that they donated money to him. He got over $2 million for help with his defense and living expenses. So hopefully he's going to win, or hopefully there's going to be a positive resolution to this situation. The other thing that annoyed me is today, Ed Mullins, the president of the Sergeants Benevolent Association, had to resign. And the FBI took all kinds of boxes of stuff from his house, from the office, and they're claiming he misappropriated funds. I don't believe that's true. I believe de Blasio and he had an ongoing feud for years. But I got a feeling that they're going to try to jam him up. So, Ed Mullins, if you're watching, God bless you, and I hope you win because you're a good man. Talking about disorder, everybody knows that the crime in the Democratic cities is off the chart, okay? They want to defund the police, and the police that they have, they tie their hands. Mayor de Blasio said that the police should be more customer oriented. I don't understand how that works. You arrest somebody and you say, well, I'm sorry, I have to arrest you, and can I please put my handcuffs on you, and can I get you a cup of coffee and a donut while we're waiting for the paddy wagon? I mean, it's ridiculous. They want to do everything to disband and disorient the police department. Matter of fact, Minneapolis just passed a resolution that they want to get rid of the police altogether. They want social workers and some law enforcement, or what they call public safety officers, available. Can you imagine going to a domestic dispute where a guy's got a knife to a woman's throat or has a gun to someone, and the social worker doesn't get anywhere? So the woman gets killed. At least the police there that can try to prevent that kind of a situation. It's totally. It's even the president when he was running. He's the president in name only because his mind is somewhere else. Even he said he wanted to defund the police. And Kamala Harris, that no-show slut who doesn't do anything most vice presidents don't do anything, but they get a job to do. Like she was supposed to work on the border. She never even went to the border. She went to the northern part of the border, and then she went to Guatemala. And the Guatemalan president even said, "What the hell are you doing here?" She wants to find the root causes of migration. The root causes is they live in poor countries. They don't have any money. They have shit. They don't have hospitalization. They don't have health care. They don't have anything. So they come here for the freebies. There's a process that we have. Then Trump had a good process. Go to the border, file your papers, and wait in Mexico to come into the United States legitimately. They don't want that. They just want them to come in. Now, I understand there's another surge of 40,000 Haitians on their way to the southern border. And what is Biden going to do? He's going to hand tie the border agents so they can't do anything. Hello, Eddie Gazzetti. How are you? Have a good show. Thank you. Wow, so miss Big Apple, miss all my friends, family up there. I hate it here so much. Diana Lee Woodward, much more these days, over a year, was hurt by doctors and x-ray technicians to the point of breaking my bones in my back, caused me to get MRSA and very bad infection since 3 days before Thanksgiving. Last year, we've been stuck in this hospital since August. So, well, Diana, I wish you lots of luck, and I hope you get well. And let me go on with the show. Okay, thank you, Diana, for your input. So what we have here is a mayor, and now the funny thing is, the mayor of Chicago, Lightfoot, the one that looks like Beetlejuice, she's whacked up. She actually sounded intelligent today. I saw her. She did a press conference. 5 guys, or 4 or 5 guys, had a shootout with an apartment in a residential neighborhood with the people behind the curtains, so to speak. They were probably other drug dealers. It's all about drugs, first of all. And I think some innocent people got shot, a kid, this, that, and the other. And the DA doesn't want to file charges. Says, "Oh, there's enough evidence. There's no witnesses." You got video of them shooting. You got video of them at least having the gun and firing. You could arrest them for that. Oh no, this is the one that didn't want to. That wanted to. The guy that what's his name? The actor that said that he was almost lynched with a rope. But he had these twin bodybuilders testified, or actually stated, that he hired them to do it, and she didn't want to go. She didn't want to go after them. They don't want to. They don't even want to go after people. That's how bad it is. And so what happens is, in New York City, you have a serial pickpocket. This guy is targeting elders, and there's a picture of him pickpocketing a guy in a post the other day. And then you have a serial stabber, stabs people. Then you got a serial, everything's serial. And you know why? They don't care. They get arrested, they're out the next day. And even the judges that want to do something, what do? They give them the minimum sentence, they give them a light sentence, they give them probation. It doesn't stop them. Jail stops them. Now, the other problem we have is that we have a terrible jail system in New York City called Rikers Island. It's disgusting, terrible. The guards don't want to work there. The ones that do work there work in double and triple shifts. So when you work a double or triple shift, you're not in your best capacity. You're like, whoa, I'm gonna go to sleep. I mean, there's only so much 5-hour energy drinks you can drink on a job. They're getting assaulted by the prisoners because the prisoners know there's not enough of them. It's horrible. It's horrible for the inmates and for the correction officers. Now, the other problem is, if you put all these criminals in jail, then where are they going to go? They're going to go to Rikers, and then it's going to be a whole mess all over again. It's going to be a circle jerk. That's what it comes out to be. And the biggest circle jerk of them all is Mayor de Blasio, who's an avowed Marxist. He's a communist. And he wants, by the way, let's talk about his wife, Charlene, who started this, running this thing called Thrive for mental health. What has she done with $850 million, almost $1 billion? She can't even account for it. What I think she did, and she could sue me for slander or whatever, is that she probably put a bunch of her baby girls on the payroll. And she got all her friends from the ghetto on payroll. So they're all getting money. Thank you, Diana. What she's done is put all her friends on the payroll, and they're all making money, and they're doing nothing. You got homeless people on the street that are definitely mentally challenged. Okay, I'll use that word, challenge. Okay, do something for them. Put them in a shelter. Put them in a home that can treat them. Not just put them in a shelter so they can be abused by the people in the shelter. By the way, a lot of homeless people do not want to go to shelters because the shelters are a hotbed of criminality. They rape people in there. They beat them up. They steal whatever they have. They steal. So they should revamp the shelter system that they have. They should make the security there tighter. They don't. They hire. You got to see the people they hire. I've gone to. We've done investigations where we have to go to shelters, and what you see is the guards in there are the lowest paid. They get the cheapest companies they can. They on bids, and they don't do anything. They don't even walk around. They don't do shit. That's why these people are getting mugged and getting hurt. So you have a system that it's self-defeating, a circle of defeat. We need somebody. Hopefully, we're going to get a new mayor. Hopefully, whoever we get, either Curtis Sliwa or Eric Adams. Now, Eric Adams seems to be the front runner because it's 8-1 Democrats to the Republicans in the city. And he was an ex-cop, even though when he was a cop, he went against the system a little bit. He started this thing, 100 blacks in law enforcement, and he's not well liked by the police department. I'll tell you that much. But he has a job to do, and at least he knows the police hierarchy. He knows how to run. He's a captain, so he knows administratively. Hey, Thomas Reale, how are you? He knows how to work the system. Now, will he work it properly? And I don't know. I hope he does. But now Curtis Sliwa, now I like him, but what experience does he have in politics except having a radio show, starting the Guardian Angel, which was a good thing. Don't get me wrong. It's a good thing. What's his claim to fame? That he got shot by John Gotti Jr. in a car. He doesn't have any managerial. Oh, he does have managerial experience. He was a manager of McDonald's in the Bronx. Okay. So anybody who wants to vote for him, they're going to vote for him because they don't want the Democratic wave of lawlessness. And that is one of the reasons why people will vote for Curtis Sliwa. They're tired of the Democratic way of running a city. All the Democratic cities have been burning. They had all these riots and everything like that because the cops couldn't do anything. So the people had a free hand. They burned Minneapolis. Forget about it. Seattle. They 100 days of rioting, and the police couldn't do anything. And when President Trump asked to send National Guard or send troops, no, we don't want your help. The only thing he could do is send people in for the federal buildings that were being, and even then, all they do is put a cordon around it so that they don't burn it down. We have a upside down world. We have an upside down country. The Democrats have become socialist. The way that they're doing things now, the way Biden and Biden is a puppet. Everybody knows that. He can't even make a sentence. It's the people around him are telling him what to do, and then they're not that good. They're really not that good. They're not telling him the right thing. Look what he did in Afghanistan. Look what he did with the southern border. Now he wants to tax everything. Listen, he wants to tax. He wants to tax any kind of transaction on Zelle, Venmo, or PayPal. So if I send my son $100, they want to tax that. And it's not income. It's just I'm sending my son $100 so they need money. Or I'm sending my daughter $50. Whatever it is, they want to tax it. They are going to tax this infrastructure bill has so many tax things in there. It's unbelievable. We all know that we have, the capitalist system is supply and demand. Well, guess what? We have no supplies. Today, I saw a company, not a big company, but a sizable company, had to hire charter ships to bring goods in from Europe because they don't have it. Now, what happened to all our manufacturing? Trump brought manufacturing back, and now they want to. I think Rawlings that makes sports equipment. They want to go to China. They want to open a factory in China. And this is a baseball. They make baseball gloves, baseballs. I don't understand. I just amazes me how people have gone to the left. And wait till this country becomes like Venezuela or Cuba. Then they're going to see how bad it is. Also, I gotta say this. We have a woman coming on the show. She's a mom, and she should be pissed off with this. They're calling mothers that complain about the vax mandate, about the mask for their kids in school, domestic terrorists. So a mother can't even open her mouth and say anything. Even the teachers have become communists. That's what they are. They're communists. Well, I think I said enough. Right now, we're going to bring Joe McBratney on. He has a lot to say about his life being affected by organized crime. Anthony, bring Joe on.
Hey,
All right.
Vinny, how you doing, buddy?
So you heard what I said about you. Your life was impacted by a very serious thing. And as my son was saying hello to you. And by the way, I was only kidding around about sending you $100, Christopher. I was just using that as an example.
Then your life was affected.
Rodriguez has been arrested 57 times this year for theft and other offenses. He's robbed Walgreens 37 times alone this year. Insanity, Commissioner Demarche tweeted Saturday. No other way to describe the resulting crime that has flowed from disastrous bail reform law. Okay, well, what Joe's going to talk about was before bail reform. This was just Joe has a different spin on crime right now. He's talking about something. What happened about 25 years ago?
More than that. Long.
So tell us about your father.
It was 1973. My father was murdered by three men: John Gotti, Angelo Ruggiero, and Frankie the Wig, who was the gunman. I remember waking up, my brother, my sister, I have an older brother, younger sister, waking up to my family being in the living room and my mother coming and telling me that my father had been murdered. My father was killed. I didn't find out till 10 years later who killed him, when it was front page news that they killed Castellano and Bellotti. And then I found out he made his bones by killing my father, by being involved in the murder of my father, which, my family kept it secret from me what happened. They hid the newspapers. I was only 11 years old. My brother was 12. My sister was 9. So they kept it a secret on what happened, how he got killed. We didn't know anything. But the impact it had on my life is I could have went either way, Vin. I could have went either way. I could have revenged his death, or I could have went the way I went. And I chose this path of a law-abiding citizen. Because I went through, stepping up to the line. I could have crossed over the line a few times. I met a few guys who knew my father, told me stories about him.
Tell us about Carmine Persico writing a letter about your father.
Sure. Well, the detective who arrested John Gotti, Ray Taylor, his name was. Ray was the detective who arrested John Gotti for the murder of my father. And he had told me that my father protected Carmine Persico in prison when my father was in on a 6-year bid, that he was protecting him in Greenhaven State Prison, and that Carmine offered him a job afterwards to work for him, collecting money, whatever it was. But he said, I wrote a letter to Carmine I wanted to know about my father, because I got the information from the detective that my father was protecting him. And he said that the content of the letter was that he's sorry to say it wasn't him. Carmine said he only did federal time, but it was his brother, Alphonse Persico, who was in Greenhaven State Prison when my father was there.
Okay.
So my father was promised a job by Alphonse to go collect money for him in Brooklyn. And he might be alive now, but he might be in prison too. But, he chose the other way.
Ali Boy is in prison, yes. He's in prison a long time.
Yes. And he had told me he passed away. Ali Boy passed away, and Carmine Persico just recently passed away. But I do have his letter. I do have the letter from Carmine.
Good. You also mentioned a few other things about you wanted to visit John Gotti.
Yes, I sent when I heard that he had cancer, I sent the request to visit him in prison because I wanted him to be able to tell me the reason why he killed my father, because they tried to make it like my father kidnapped Gambino's nephew, who I believe he was autistic, the kid, and they kidnapped him, and they got the money and killed the nephew. But Ray Taylor again told me that wasn't my father. It was a crew in New Jersey that did that kidnapping. But my father got caught up in kidnapping white gangsters, wise guys, and that once he kidnapped somebody and they knew he was involved in it, they killed him. Set an example. So
Hello. Okay.
that's why he passed away. That's why
All
he
right.
was. They put a contract out to murder my father.
And it's funny because I was gonna in my monologue I was gonna mention this that the mob, they're so paranoid that if they don't trust somebody, they already label them a rat. And when you label somebody a rat, that's like a warrant to kill them, because some people will, like for example, um, Albert Anastasia killed this Jewish kid that ratted out on uh, the bank robber. What was his name? Famous bank robber, and he just killed him. He just killed him because he was a rat. He said that guy's a rat. Boom, we killed him. So you have that sort of subculture that and so what happened was your father wasn't a rat, but he wasn't the guy that kidnapped Gambino's nephew. So it's almost the same thing. Well, he's a kidnapper, so he kidnapped the guy, and that's terrible. That's terrible how they do that. And
Yes.
I'm sure there's a lot of innocent people have been killed over the years because they were mislabeled, like your father was mislabeled.
But
Or
listen, you choose that life. If you choose that life, it comes with consequences. And killing people for a living, if you get caught doing that, it has a big sentence on it. So
in
that's
some
why,
states, it's death.
right,
Here, it's just life
death,
in prison.
25 to life. But it also, when they got arrested for drugs had more time than murder at one time in
Under
New
the
York.
Rockefeller law. Under the Rockefeller
Yes.
law. I
So
had clients that have gotten 20 years for stupid shit.
for
This was,
possession, for
I,
possession,
yeah, not even
right.
possession, just of conspiracy. What are you gonna do?
Right. So that's why they didn't want drugs in the mafia in the first place, because they knew that guys would be getting hit with time. They didn't want to do, and they would turn on the ranks, and that's what happened.
Gene Gotti, how many years did he get for drugs? 50 years. But he
Yeah.
only did 30 when he came out. Now, what happened with? Didn't they contact you about Gene Gotti?
They
They
didn't
knew him.
contact me about him. No.
Oh,
I mean, everybody contacted me when John Gotti was dying. Everybody wanted me to quote him and talk bad about him, and the only quote I gave was, "I feel bad for his children. I know what it's like to lose your father,"
yeah. Well, that was, yeah.
and that's the truth. My father chose his life, and he chose to kidnap gangsters. But there's innocent people involved in every murder that they did. There's kids who had to grow up without their father now.
Yeah, but
Who
when you kidnap a gangster, he's a gangster. So the chances are, if you don't kill him, he's going to come back looking for you to kill you.
well they
You're not dealing with innocent bystanders. Arnold
listen.
Schuster. Oh, Arnold Schuster was the man. All right, I couldn't remember his name. Thank you, Tim. We got. I did that on purpose so I could make you correct me. No, I'm kidding around. But yeah, Arnold Schuster. Poor kid. Poor kid. Willie's son. He saw
He
Willie's
wasn't a
son.
rat.
He's a
Schuster
rat.
wasn't a rat. He was a
He
rat.
wasn't. He wasn't a rat. He's a concerned citizen telling, I saw a robbery. He had so to me, a rat is someone that is involved in the crime, gets caught, and said, "Okay, I'm going to testify against that person, so that I can get a deal." That's a rat,
And the first one that does it gets the deal.
right?
They're not
So
stupid.
now that goes back to what I was going to say before, and I'm going to say it now. In organized crime, the end justifies the means. Okay, so you commit a crime with 5 or 6 gangsters. They all get arrested. All they need is one person to testify and get conviction. And guess what? They're gonna make it. They're gonna make one of the guys. They're gonna make such a deal, such a deal. Um, I'll give you an example. Sonny Francese's son John testified against him. The feds gave him, it's on record, $500,000 up front and 100,000 a year for 5 years. They gave him $1 million, and he had to testify to that. And he got a conviction on his father. His father, that's the last. I think that's the last bid that Sonny did. And remember, Sonny did altogether in his life. He did about 50 years in jail altogether. Half his life. He was 101 years old when he died. 102.
Didn't he get out of jail and the judge who convicted him died before he got out?
No. He got violated. What happened was, when you're a gangster, you hang out with gangsters. And when he hangs out with a gangster, he violated his parole. He's on lifetime parole. So he's been in for 2 years, for 3 years, for 1 year. One day, we were having a dinner, and somebody invited him, and he said, a couple people said, we can't go if he's there because we can get violated, whatever. Okay, this was in Howard Beach, when I lived in Howard Beach. And I was getting some award at Roosters on the Bay. So when he was asked that, you know what he said? I love the guy. He just said, well, I only know gangsters. Oh, the only people I know how to talk to. He says, that's why I get violent. And he was like, okay. And matter of fact, the first time I met him in my friend Robbie's restaurant on 50th and 8th. And I never knew who he was. I never recognized him. And he goes, what do you do? I said, I'm a private investigator. Oh, thank God. I said, why? You're the only guy I could talk to here without getting violated. I said, what? And a couple months later, he got violated for talking to some wise guy. What happens is they live in that, they're in that, the same thing with, I did a year in jail, okay? I was in a pretty safe place, but we had some bad guys in there too. I mean, I was safe because who I am. I'm a friendly guy. I don't take shit from nobody. I don't give shit to nobody. So everything was.
You have to talk to people too. You have to hold the conversation.
And where I was, when they heard the name Vinny, they automatically assumed that I was mobbed up, even though I'm not. And
so you were just Vinny.
I'm Vinny. He's Vinny. He's Vinny. Yeah. Oh, right away. Right. So I don't say anything. I don't say yes or no. I just keep my mouth shut. But what they do is they're making deals in jail to buy drugs when they get out, and they're going to get back in jail. It's absolutely crazy. It's crazy.
So lifetime criminals. That's lifetime criminals.
They're always, And by the way, 68% of the people in prison, New York State, are parole violated. That means they were convicted of a crime. They're on parole, and they do either the same thing or another crime to get back in jail. Okay? Now, with this bail reform that we have in New York State, these criminals are in and out. We have one guy, Eddie Gazzetti mentioned it before. The guy robbed 57 stores. He gets arrested, he's out, he robs another one. He doesn't care. So he's a serial thief.
Yes.
And, you got guys, you got serial killers. Thank God we don't have any serial killers in New York, but we got enough people killing. And the gun violence we have is ridiculous. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Hey, Mike.
What they want to do, they want to take guns away from regular people. Then the only ones that are going to have guns are the criminals. It's a never-ending battle. They want.
And let me explain.
Venezuela, nobody has a gun. Cuba, nobody has a gun. They took them away. In a Bolshevik Russia, when they took over, when the communist Bolsheviks took over Russia, they took everybody's guns away. That's the first step in the rise of socialism / communism, and that's what the Democrats want. Because you know why? All these Democrats and Republicans, some of the Republicans, they are rich. They go into Congress, they go into Senate. middle class, upper middle class. Some of them are doing very well. Some of them are successful attorneys or whatever. But all of a sudden, they're multi-millionaires. How do they become that way? They get the lobby. There's more lobbyists in Washington than there are politicians.
Correct.
They're all paying people. Okay, if you want to stop the corruption, you start with the lobbyists. Okay, you got lobbyists.
It should be illegal. Lobbying should be illegal. It should be illegal.
Well, no, there's
Paying
certain,
off people. Come on.
there's certain good for lobbyists, but some people lobby for good things. For example, a lobbyist might say, "Look, we want to get more benefits for the veterans." That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. A lot of them aren't. Yeah.
Now, you know what's a good thing? We're going to advertise my books, my daughter's private eye company, and then we're going to bring the new guest on. So okay. And what about the latest one? Mafia Double Cross is my bestseller. I'm doing book signings all over the place. It's a great story, not because I wrote it, but it is. Investigation After Dark is very sexy. All true stories of private eyes doing undercover work in sex clubs, strip clubs, swingers clubs, divorce cases. Unbelievable. And Detective's Kitchen, I went to French cooking school, so I got some French and Italian recipes with the story that goes with it when we were investigating people. And tomorrow night at headquarters, 558 West 38th Street, between 8 till midnight, I'm going to be signing my new book, Rogue PI. I'm very flattered that they allow me, or they asked me to do a book signing in the club. It's a 15th anniversary. There's going to be tons of people there, sports figures, and I heard some porno stars. But well, it's a strip club. What do you expect? Gentlemen's club. And as my friend Eddie Chiani said, there's no gentleman there. But I'm going to be there. I'm a gentleman, I think. Okay, and my daughter took over my company. She's doing very well. She's banging out cases left and right. A lot of backgrounds. A lot of women are calling my daughter up, saying, "Hey, I'm going out with this guy. I think this shady. He borrowed money from me, and all these different unbelievable stories." And that's all I could say. And that's enough to say. Now we're going to bring Angela on. Now, Angela's life has been impacted by crime. So I'm going to say that. Angela, are you? We got her. All right, Angela.
Hello.
So Angela lived in Howard Beach, and my son, what porn stars are going to be there? I don't know. I got to look at my black book and let you know. I'll let you know which porn stars are going to be there, Christopher. That's my son. It's like his father, you know what I mean? No. So Angela,
Yes.
your life has been impacted by the Gambino family. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Talk about it. Let us know what happened. Start from the beginning.
Beginning. Well, I grew up in the Howard Beach area, actually, Lindenwood, Howard Beach, and I grew up with the mob, which came from East New York. So as a little kid, I was impacted immediately by the mob. The mobsters, some relatives, some weren't, but it was quite the life, All I've ever seen growing up was gun shootings, fights, murders, hanging out with people who were involved in stuff where, things happened. Even my own family, excuse me, was involved in it, getting shot at. It's just a constant, how do you say, crime. It was just always crime involved. The neighborhood consists of, crime. And
Angela, was that the number one crop for the neighborhood? That's the number one thing that they made money with is crime?
Yeah, I guess so. Sure. Absolutely. I think crime is, money. It's about money. That's it.
Tell us about your father-in-law. He's dead now.
So with my father-in-law, I did the show I Married a Mobster. I left Howard Beach. I went to hang out in another area. Unfortunately, I had to meet the wrong guy, of course. He was a mobster's son. His father was captain of the Lucchese family, and the son was like reckless and uh, in every way possible. Um, that didn't work out well. Uh, I have a show about that and was reenacted. And it tells the story about what I went through with that situation. So I went from Howard Beach growing up, trying to get away from that a little bit, and ended up marrying someone. I don't know how that happened, but just kind of like took me over. Before you know it, I was involved with somebody whose father was one of the biggest mobsters in that family. Random family. So it just like constant crime in my life. Always wanting to like run away from it, not be involved in it. It just was there wherever I went. From Howard Beach, which I grew up. I came from originally from well, the mobsters from Howard Beach came originally from East New York, and just grew up with it, and it had affected my life and my children's life, which is another story that turned out very badly. Um, the fact that my son got killed, because I think because mostly because he would not listen. You know, he didn't want to be involved with the mobster family, like Gambino and all them, which my brother was involved with, and even he had to try. He tried to have my son killed. He actually set him up. My son survived that. Uh, but it didn't turn out well because eventually, you know, they catch up with you. And I lost my son that way, who wanted to be not a mobster, but he wanted to be who he wanted to be. He never wanted to be involved with any of the families, and that that put a label on him. And they were constantly trying to take him out. Wasn't a very good story. A lot of pain and suffering goes with it, but when you grow up in that lifestyle for some reason, it just like follows you. I mean, some people get lucky and get pretty much get out of it. With me, for some reason, I just could never get out of it. And I couldn't even keep my kids safe. My other son, he's the, which is not the guy that got, not the son that got killed. His father was, his grandfather was captain of the Lucchese family. Now he was a tough guy in the neighborhood, but not like my other son, who was not, you know, the grandson of the Lucchese. He turned out to be the big tough guy in the neighborhood, and he was a good guy, but he was a tough guy, and everybody was afraid of him. So when people fear you, especially people like the mob, that's not going to work. So he had a couple of contracts out on him. And eventually he got killed. And I tried to prevent it in many ways. And he wanted to be who he wanted to be. And I just couldn't save him. I couldn't. And not by not trying. You know, I tried everything. But this is what I feel about a neighborhood like Howard Beach. And I'm not going to label just Howard Beach. We know Brooklyn, Bay Ridge, Jersey, you know, whatever the way, Chicago. If you grow up in a neighborhood where there's a heavy crime, you know, like where the mobsters are at that time, eh, nothing good was going to come out of it. And that's my opinion. And, you know, nothing really good came from my life. It was one tragedy, one torture after another. And, you know, did I know everyone? Everyone. Hung out with the mobsters, went out with the mobsters. My sister went out with the mobsters. And I mean big mobsters, you know, not just like the neighborhood, you know, knockaround, you know, the big guys. And my sister was very attractive. I was, I guess, somewhat attractive, not as attractive as my sister, but she was, all the big mobsters were always after her. And she dated a lot of big mobsters. And she's still alive. I don't know how she lived. She was shot a couple of times and she survived.
Why
And
was she shot? Why was she shot?
She was shot when she was 17. Then she was shot with. She obviously had a fight with the wrong girl, which her father was a mob guy in the neighborhood, a big guy. So they came after her with machine guns, Uzis, and I call them the gang that couldn't shoot straight. They shot through the bathroom window of the neighborhood bar. I mean, the bathroom door, and got her in the buttocks. So, and because my sister and who we were, and who our family was, uh, the person that didn't kill her, he wanted her out of the neighborhood. He wanted her to leave town. And our side, which my sister was very close to, my cousins or whoever, they told them no, no way. So she remained in Howard Beach for many, many years. And it's just a saga, if you will. It was like, in my opinion, an unfortunate saga. Drugs, uh, killings. But in one way, I have to say this, what the mob did do, or people like, the mob guys, maybe not connected, but mob guys, they protected the neighborhood. So a lot of people would never do anything wrong. So in a way, they protected the neighborhood. So it was like a double-edged sword, if you will, in my opinion, that is.
Yeah, double-edged sword.
And,
So I'm going to ask you
many,
something.
many stories.
What is the attraction for women mobsters? What is the attraction?
Oh, that's a good question. Everybody loves, all the women love the tough guy. Not everyone, but most of the women were attracted by that. That was the era, I guess. In that
Well, I think
whatever.
women like bad boys. Women like bad boys.
Yes, that's it. I don't know. I've been attracted to bad boys my whole life, obviously.
Yeah.
Uh,
But the danger is exciting.
I don't know.
The danger is
I
exciting.
don't know. It's just like, it makes women feel like they're protected, I think, like they're going to be
Everybody
protected.
else, but not from the guy who you're with.
I'm
You know?
sorry?
You're
What'd you
protected
say?
from the general public, but what about the guy you're with? What happens if he does something wrong?
Oh, that could go either way. Correct. Yeah.
Go either way.
And it happened to me. Yes, it happened to me. It happened to many women that I know. I know a lot of women ended up dead, for saying, thinking that they could say something,
But
and
you
it didn't
made,
work out well
you
for
made an
them.
interesting thing. You talked about the Gambinos, and you also mentioned Lucchese. So this goes for all five families. This is for all. Whatever we're talking about tonight is relation to any mob family, and not just Italian. When you got the Russian mob, you got the Albanian mob, and they're coming and they're coming up. The Italian mob, the mafia, is going down. They just arrested a whole bunch of people from the Colombo family, from the top guy down. They decimated that family. What's going to happen is,
And now also, Vinny, a lot of people came out too recently. A lot of a lot of mob guys, big guys, they came out after 35 years, 20, whatever they got. They just came out, you know.
and they don't want to do anything anymore. They don't want to go back to jail.
I don't think so. I don't think so. If they do something, it's very quiet and hush hush and
You
undercover.
know how they
Is there
say.
still a family? Absolutely.
You know how they say if you're a member of
I'm
the
sorry?
mob, you can't. You gotta be until you're dead. You can't leave the mob. That's bullshit. I know a whole bunch of
That's a lie.
a lot of people just said I quit, and they let him go. They didn't kill him. They let him go. It's all right. And
I think you're talking about the 20s and the 30s, maybe.
no, no, no.
I don't know.
I know a few guys on Howard Beach. One
Really?
guy dead, Carmine. I don't know if you know Carmine. I'm not mentioning his last name. He went to jail. He came out. He said, "You know what? I had enough of this. I went to jail. I'm out. I don't want to be." And they let him. And there's a guy on Facebook, and he wrote a book named Larry Mazza. Same thing. He was in a mob. He's out. Uh, there's a lot of people that are saying, "Hey, you know what? It's not what it used to be. It's not what it used to be." And
Oh, absolutely.
they don't have. They're not making the
I
money.
don't. Here's another thing. It's all about money. If you're an earner, my brother is a mob guy. He finally got made. You know, I think in 10 years it took him. He's been a criminal since he's 12, maybe 12, 13 years old. He finally got made into one of the families. The family that I married into, they wouldn't take him. That's what I found out. So the other family took him. Can I mention the name? Or is that, I really don't care. So the Gambinos took him. So now he's a made guy, you know. I never hear from him, see from him, don't like him, tried to kill my son. So, he's so undercover. Everybody went to jail recently from a rat in the neighborhood. He was the only one in that crew that didn't go. Isn't that unusual?
Well, either because they didn't have anything on him, or who knows? I don't want to say he's a rat,
It could be.
could
Anything's
be anything.
possible.
But
Nobody wants to go to jail.
sometimes they just don't have enough on somebody. They let him go. They say, all right, we're not going to go after this guy.
Well,
Um,
he's a three-time loser, so if he did go, you'd never see him again.
oh yeah. Well, um, the funny thing is that in New York City, in New York State, these guys are committing bullshit crimes. Well, not to say bullshit crimes. They're committing crimes every day: robbing, stealing, mugging people. They get
Mm.
caught, they let them out. But when you're a wise guy, when they catch you, they give you big time. They're not fooling around with that. Now
They hate the mob. They
you know
hate
how
the mob.
you know how
Yeah.
you don't see the Russians getting arrested. You know why? Because there's no rats.
Because
They
they don't know who they are. They don't know
they will
anyone.
not rat on each other.
That's correct. I would agree with you. I met a few in Sheepshead Bay and stuff,
They're not gonna
and yeah,
you never ever ever see them ratting because they know the consequences. Okay. Same thing with the
that's
Albanians.
correct.
The Albanians, too, they've all. You see, I'm thinking about writing a book on the history of organized crime. What happens is every organization that comes in is more violent than the previous one because they want to get people scared. They want people to be afraid of them, and it keeps going on and on. And I don't want to take up all the time, but what happens is in order to get what you want, you got to be violent. You got to be violent. In crime, you got to be like the Colombians used to cut their necks with the neck. They call the necktie. You have all these ethnic groups. They all got to be crazier than the other groups. Okay. So,
You don't
Joe,
think the Italians were crazy?
Angela, let's
You don't
bring
think
Joe.
the Italians?
Excuse me, Joe. And Anthony, they put Joe on so we can have a three-way conversation. We have a three-way.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Angela. How you doing?
Hey,
Okay.
Michelangelo Prisco, he knows about crime. I'm not going to mention anything, but he knows his life has been impacted by what's going on in this. But he never went that way. He went the straight and narrow, which is important. Now I got to tell you guys something. I don't know if you noticed, but when John Gotti's son was made, he was at a meeting with Wild Bill Catola. Now Wild Bill Catola was one of the I don't know if I want to say good or bad, but one of the best hitmen for the Colombo family. He was sharp dresser, very feared. He was feared as a hitman. He said to John Gotti, hey, my son just got made. You know what he said to him? My condolences.
Oh my God.
He said to John Gotti, like, your son being a maid is not a good thing. It's not a good thing. And
I
look
have
what
a little
happened,
story on that one.
what happened to Wild Bill Catola. He got killed. It was just a matter of time before they were going to kill him. Right,
Angela,
Joe?
you got a story on that. What do you got a story on?
John, well, from what I hear, and I'm from Howard Beach, and I hear usually correct things. It's never really. I heard a few times that John Jr. never wanted to be made, but his father insisted.
Nah, I don't know if that's true.
Oh no, it is true. He didn't want
Maybe,
to be. He didn't
it's
want to be.
possible. But he played the part. Let me tell you something.
He had no
Uh,
choice. Yes.
Well, yeah, but he used to. He's a bully. He used to go to the nightclubs in Long Island, Oceanside, all that place, and start fights left and right. Because I know a cop that used to come. A Nassau cop used to always get him out, go over and get him out of there. So it was a bully. So I don't know if he wanted to be a made guy or not, but he played the part. Played the part up until the end. And who knows? I don't know. It's
My
hard to.
brother used to fight him all the time. They would ride constantly fighting in the park when they were younger, not that young.
is
But
a
yeah,
nightclub. He would go to a nightclub and start fights.
yeah.
You know,
I don't,
who I
know
am,
that.
you know, that kind of shit. You know, who I am, and then the guy says, I don't know who you are. Fuck you. Blah blah blah. Next thing you know,
First of all, nobody bothered him because of who he was. So that's the end of that.
well, he got into a lot of
As
scrapes.
soon as they knew, as
But
soon
guys
as they
that
knew
don't
who
know
he
him,
was,
but Angela, guys that don't know who he is, and he gets in their face. Some guys got balls. They're gonna start a fight. You know,
absolutely.
it's a macho bullshit thing. You know, right, Joe?
It
You're a
was.
macho
I remember
bullshit
it. I remember it.
we got 9 minutes left. Let Joe. I want you to see if you got anything to add to this dialogue here.
You know, Angel's story. Everybody wants to be a gangster, but nobody wants to take what comes with it. And I'm sorry that
But that's very, very good. Yes, yes. They
you know
don't want to be gangsters, but they don't want to get the
but they don't want to get handcuffed.
But you know the problem with every time these guys do something, there's usually 4 or 5 guys doing a crime or doing it's a syndicate, so to speak. One of them is always a rat. Is always a rat. There's always a rat because they make a deal with him.
Let me explain to you. The guy who pulled the trigger and killed my father, they found him a week later with 6 bullets in the back of his head. So what they do is they get somebody to do a hit, say you're going to be a made guy, then they kill him. There's no witnesses. You know, and that's what happened. They killed him.
Well, how long? But John Gotti went to jail for it. How long did he go? 6 years?
Well, when my father was in a bar, sitting there, and Ruggiero got on one side, John Gotti got on the other side, and grabbed him, and they said, "We're here to arrest you." They said they were detectives. My father wouldn't go for them. He was dragging them down the bar while they were holding him, and he was trying to get his gun. I know he had a gun because he had a gun every time he got dressed. So when he went for his gun, that's when they killed him. Because they couldn't overpower him and take him out and they were trying to kidnap him. But the guy Gotti was just an accomplice holding him while he got shot.
So he didn't get the heavy time.
Right. In fact, the truth is he was still involved in a contract killing and did 2 years in jail for killing my father.
That's all, 2 years?
Because Roy Cohn was his lawyer and they made a deal with the judge.
Roy Cohn was a very good lawyer.
Yeah.
Very good.
Listen, you know, in the old days, money was king. You pay somebody off and you go. It ain't about being good. It's about who you know, who you're in bed.
By the way, he was, he died of AIDS. You know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he died of AIDS. Many years ago, I got a call from a lawyer. Says I got a judgment against Roy Cohen. I want you to go after his money. Collect the money. That's what it's one of the things that we do. The guy drives around. He used to drive around with a Rolls Royce, live in a townhouse on the West Side. Didn't own anything in his own name. He never had no bank accounts. He didn't have anything, but he lived like a king. He got invited to every event. He lived a life. Don't forget about what you know, who you know. That's right, Michelangelo Prisco.
That's right.
Yeah.
You do 2 years in jail. And listen, manslaughter is 10 years maximum, right? Manslaughter. So he's involved in a killing. He got 2 years in prison. Came out and he was celebrated that he killed my father because they said my father killed Gambino's nephew, which he didn't do.
Did they ever get the guys who really did kill Gambino's nephew?
I don't know. He didn't. He never told me that. Ray Taylor never told me that, but he told me a lot. I have interviews with him that I talked to him so much. You know, he told me about the old days in New York. He told me that if there was a robbery in the Diamond District, they would go get the guy who was known to rob the Diamond District, take him up to the precinct and beat him with the Manhattan phone book until he gave up the names of who did the burglary. He said that was old-time policing. He said so. They knew.
Both cases got overturned eventually.
But imagine that's what policing was.
I'm going to give you a little bit of trivia. Angela Joe, do you know the expression "I got framed"? Let's say you got framed. You know where that started from? over 100 years ago, in the police headquarters was 100 Center Street. Now it's a $5 million condominium. Each condominium. What they used to do is what you just said, Joe. Every guy, every criminal that was ever arrested, they put their picture on the wall. And the people would come in and say, "Oh, that's the guy. That's the guy. That's the guy who did this. That's the guy." That's where the expression "he got framed," because they were in a frame. Isn't that something?
I never heard that. The first.
Yeah, and you know what? Policing has gone very scientific and very technical.
Forensics are huge.
Everything like that. But you know, sometimes old-fashioned police work works better than that. You need both. I profess that I've done both. I'm a certified forensic examiner. I work for the State Board of Medicine. I did homicide. I did all kinds of cases, right? But I'm not a scientist where I can go and take a sample and put under the microscope. I never did that, you know. I was more like with autopsies. You know, the body's dead. What are they going to do? They can't complain when you cut them up. No, I never did that. But you know, it's a combination of both. You've got DNA, you've got all kinds of stuff. You've got video cameras all over the place. No matter where you go, these guys come in crime. There's a camera, which helps law enforcement. It helps people. I mean, I got a guy off a robbery case because the camera showed that he wasn't at this particular place when they said he did. You know, when he did.
Vinny, you forgot what you were the master of. You forgot what you have to be a master in order to be a good investigator. What do you have to be a master in? Tung fu.
Tung fu, right?
You taught me that.
You remember that from the show. We did that on the show. Tung fu. Yeah, it's about talking to people, getting people to give up information, to cooperate. And not rats. We're talking about regular, honest people.
Witnesses.
For example, that case in Staten Island where the twins got arrested on a RICO case. I interviewed a lot of witnesses. And what I did was I just talked to them like I'm talking to you now. And they told me the truth. The truth was that the DA is corrupt. The DA made them say things to get my clients in trouble. They twisted the truth. They actually told them, which is illegal, that they have a possibility of a class action lawsuit against defendants. They're not supposed to do that. That is not what a DA can. And a DA is supposed to talk to every witness alone. He's to get them all in the same room, and they're all sharing their stories, getting their stories together.
Listen, just like Angela said that in the 20s or 30s, there are no more stand-up guys. The old guys, listen, when the mafia families were around and I was growing up, if you were around somebody, you were protected. You could leave your door open. You could leave the windows open. You didn't have to worry about nothing. Then drugs came in, and that all ended.
Yeah, drugs was it destroyed the fabric of America. You can quote me on that. They destroyed the fabric of America. It's on two ways. One, the people that use it destroyed them, and the people that sell it wound up getting killed anyway because everybody, all these shootings in the ghetto neighborhoods. You notice it's blacks shooting blacks. It's not cops shooting them. Cops do shoot them occasionally and it's all a lot of it is questionable. I have to admit, but a lot of it is not. A lot of it is good police work. Unfortunately, you got a guy like Chauvin who sits on a guy's neck for 9 minutes. That's not a good cop, and those cops should be thrown out and thrown in jail. But you have blacks killing blacks. Black Lives Matter doesn't talk about it. They do not talk about blacks shooting blacks. Why not?
That doesn't make all cops bad, Vinny. That doesn't make.
Why don't they talk about blacks? I think it's 86% of the blacks that are killed by other blacks. Okay.
Because of drugs, no? Because of drugs.
It's all about drugs.
Very dark.
Drugs and money, just like you said, Angela, about money. It's about money.
That's all it's about.
We're starting to wind down. We're trying to wind down. We got 8 o'clock. I want to thank Joe. I want to thank Angela. You guys were great. You told it like it is from the heart. I want
Thank
to
you.
thank all the other people that commented, and I love comments. And in Arthur Avenue, Little Italy, we say sempre noi, means always with us. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Good night. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.